A wheel slightly offline here, you're going to lose a big chunk of time, and yet everybody driving carefully, controlling their pace and not making that little mistake. Again, Carpentier's car sliding there, but he hasn't made that mistake that Greg Moore is looking for. It only takes one slight error and suddenly Moore will be through in a flash, but so far Carpentier is driving wheel perfect, and as are most of the guys behind him. None of them are giving a little chance to whoever is closest.
Greg Moore certainly filling the mirrors of Patrick Carpentier, and there was a quick flash of Tony Bettenhausen's crew there cheering on Patrick Carpentier.
Yes, but what it looked like was that they may have to put fuel in that car. It may be that Carpentier is not going to have to be able to stay there. They definitely had the that we've got news from the pits. They're saying that he is going to have to pit. They can't make it on this amount of fuel, and it makes you wonder how Pac West think that they're going to make it as well, but perhaps they can. And it is Carpentier who comes into the pits now. Patrick Carpentier can't hold off that train any longer. And what this means is that Greg Moore will soon be up behind Mark Blundell in the battle for second position. Gugelmin still leads, Blundell in second. Oh, he's overshot the pit. He's forced to move backwards. But he's waving. Oh no, more problems. He's got to stop in the right place. The tyre wear that high probably as well, that he just judged his braking wrong coming into the pits, and they have to get that car into the right place, otherwise the fuel hose doesn't reach.
Great shame for Patrick Carpentier, really irrelevant, to be perfectly honest. He's already out of contention for a top points finish, so annoying, sure, but he's already going to drop down to 17th place, which is where he would be in any case. So
yeah, back to the back of that queue, really.
Absolutely.
So no chance for Carpentier anymore. His moment of glory is over, and both the rookies having a bad day today. Well, these two rookies who are leading the championship in the rookie terms. Franchitti down in 17th place, and that drops Carpentier down to last now. So back on board with Michael Andretti, who has moved up to 4th position as a result of that, and still in the background, look, Gilles de Ferran there making a little move on Roberto Moreno. Really just a look more than anything else, just trying to rattle Roberto. But we've got just 9 laps to go as the leaders come across the line, and we're into the final sprint. This really is where people will start taking a few chances, I would think.
I don't know, it's tough, you know, for the championship contenders. They have to keep the PPG Cup Championship in mind. That's the goal. That is the ultimate goal of all these drivers, is to win the PPG Cup Championship. They can't afford to go throwing away positions, throwing away valuable points just for the odd position here and there, even for the victory.
And of course for Greg Moore, what he may well see is the two cars in front of him run out of fuel. If they haven't got the sums right, they're not going to finish in front of him anyway. So he's got to think a bit here. There he is, right behind Mark Blundell now. Greg Moore right tucked under the rear wing of Mark Blundell's Motorola car. But is he going to take the gamble and try and get past and risk getting into a situation that could cause damage to the car, particularly when he's got one of his main championship rivals right behind him, Michael Andretti, in the Black Swift? This really is quite a situation, and a lot rests on the young Canadian's shoulders at the moment.
A couple of back markers ahead of him too. That is going to be interesting. But you know, in 1.5 laps is all it took Greg Moore to close that 2.5 second gap to Mark Blundell. So no question, Greg Moore is way faster than the two Pac West cars because they are trying to stretch their fuel. But closing and passing, as he found out with Patrick Carpentier, two different matters. There he is, he's getting a good run on Mark Blundell. Can he make a move down to turn 3?
Oh, they came so close there, didn't they, with Mark Blundell having to block the line a little bit just to prevent Greg Moore coming through. But it's really turning into a battle now, and Michael Andretti's joined into that battle as well. So Mark Blundell, second place, that would be his best ever finish in the PPG Kart World Series, but he's under so much pressure for that second place. Greg Moore putting in a concerted effort to get through there. Michael Andretti right behind him, and Moreno next up.
Great shot from the helicopter there to go down the strand and into turn 8, and there is Mauricio Gugelmin at the front of the pack, Mark Blundell, Greg Moore, Michael Andretti, and there are the two cars just out of the picture to the right, out of the screen. There they are ahead of them. It's Arndt Meyer and Hiro Matsushita, the two last cars in the field, and boy, this is going to be interesting. Mauricio Gugelmin is just praying that they are going to see him in the mirrors and get out of the way.
Yeah, they look as though they're having their own little battle, of course, as well. The Japanese driver and the rookie German, who gets well out of the way there, or in fact coming into the pits, is he? Yes, Meyer into the pits. Matsushita now trying to get out of the way, or is he? Oh, you've always got to be so careful getting past Matsushita. You never quite know whether he's left the door open or not. Now there should be an opportunity to get down. Oh, no, yes, no, yes. Oh, God, goodness me. Gujamin squeezes past eventually, but Matsushita really causing a lot of heart flutters there, as finally he got out of the way of that lead group, and Gujamin gets through safely. And Gujamin's pit confirming that they reckon that they can make it through to the end of the race. This really would be quite something. A Pac West 1-2. That's the situation at the moment. But there's still 7 laps, or 6.5 laps to go now. And can they make it through to the checkered flag? We've seen some economy runs in the last few races, but I think this is the economy run to beat them all if they make it.
Yeah, it certainly is. They're running 6 seconds off the qualifying pace. Admittedly, he was held up that lap by Hero, I think, coming onto the start-finish straight, but clear sailing now, no slower traffic to worry about, and Mauricio Gugelmin and Mark Blundell are still 1-2, and that's what they want. It's up to the other guys to find a way past them.
Well, of course, Mauricio must be so happy that he's got Mark behind him, because he's got a bit of a buffer to Greg Moore. Mark's doing a great job to hold off Moore at the moment. Just 6 laps to go now. Gugelmin leads both of these cars, running about as lean as they can get away with. In other words, using as little fuel as possible. Burning methanol, of course, in Indy cars, and the engines burn a lot more methanol compared to the amount of petrol they would use. Much less economical on methanol. But the question is, have they got enough to make it to the flag? That's all they really care about. And nobody quite knows. They'll be having fuel readouts in the car, fuel readouts in the pits. The Greg Moore's team will be trying to work out whether these cars are going to run out in front of them, but nobody really knows.
They're doing 1 minute 16 seconds now, 7 seconds slower than qualifying, at least 3 or 4 seconds quicker than they were going earlier in the race. And but you know, that's what it's all about. You've got to get past the guy. It's kind of a shame, because there's Parker Johnstone, a problem there for the Team Cool Green car. Parker pulling out of the way there in turn 8 into the runoff here. A shame for Parker, doing a pretty good job there, running in 10th place he was before that. Looks like an engine problem, doesn't it?
It does. There was oil, actually. There was a line of oil behind him as he pulled off there, and I don't know whether that's any of that got left on the track, but it looks like a fairly major engine failure for Parker Johnson.
So some oil on the track to go along with the marbles. So it doesn't matter really whether you're on the line or off the line. It seems you're going to be sliding around.
You are indeed, and 5 laps to go. Maurizio Gugelmin, Mark Blundell 1 and 2. There is Bruce McCaw, the boss of Pac West, and he raced today. He actually raced in the celebrity race earlier on in the Neons. He finished in 3rd place. He was leading that race, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was starting from the pole and led the race, and had a quick spin in turn 1. He had a hard time explaining to me how he did manage that one. He actually just got in a bit too deep under braking while in the lead, looped it around, but able to carry on and come back from 5th and get onto the podium. So he was pretty happy with himself.
Well, he was pretty happy with himself, but he must be absolutely crossing everything at the moment to see his 2 cars running 1 and 2. They have never won a race. Gugelmin has never won a PPG Kart Series race. Mark Blundell has never been on the podium. The team, which was created just a few years ago and has gradually brought together the elements that are required for race success. This year they really have put a good package together with the Reynard chassis. They've got the Mercedes-Benz engines and Firestone tyres. It's a very, very competitive package. It's really the first time that the team's had such a good package, but can they hold on? They've got such opposition behind them. Greg Moore still chasing, then Michael Andretti and Roberto Moreno in 5th, with Gilles de Ferran, who we're riding with just there. He's running in 6th place.
4 laps to go, that's all there is left, and those 3 leaders absolutely nose to tail, and then behind them there's another train of about 8 or 9 cars, and there is Gilles de Ferran looking to try and make a move on Roberto Moreno in turn 3, not able to pull it off, oh dear, some close stuff there. Some great racing going on here, but you know, Mauricio Gugelmin really has been magnificent this season. He's had the best qualifying average of anybody in the field by quite a margin, and he's been consistently good at every race. That one mistake in Australia where he took out Jimmy Vasser just got a little bit greedy in his own words, as he said towards the end of that race, but boy, that man deserves a victory.
He does. It would be great to see Mauricio Gugelmin take the win here. Also, of course, be brilliant to see Mark Blundell get a good result, but still everybody on the edge of their seats to see whether they can make it. Just over 3 laps still to go. It's a 2.1 mile track. Doesn't seem like very far. All they've got to do is about 6 miles, but 6 miles you've got to run under full weight. Oh, look at Gilles de Ferran. Sorry, Jeremy, he's got the inside of Moreno. Oh, Moreno touching the wall. De Ferran's gone through, is he? On the inside, yes, squeezes through. Gilles de Ferran gets past, and now Jimmy Vasser trying to do the same. He's got past as well. Suddenly Moreno drops 2 places, and at last this bit of overtaking that comes through successfully, but it shows you how aggressive you have to be if you're going to make the move work.
Nothing to lose there for Gilles de Ferran, really. He was back in, well, he was in 6th position, and he figured he certainly was able to get good traction out of the corners and able to get almost up alongside Roberto Moreno a couple of times in the past. Great move there by Gilles de Ferran.
So that moves him up into 5th position now and makes up for some of the disappointment. He was the early race leader here. He set pole position, hasn't put a wheel wrong. They had a slightly slow pit stop at one stage, but really hasn't done anything wrong and finds himself down in 5th place. But the leaders are there, the 2 cars of Maurizio Gugelmin and Mark Blundell, still holding off the Canadian Greg Moore, who won last time out in Milwaukee and has really been the man to beat here this race. He worked his way up from slightly further down on the grid, but he's driven absolutely superbly. Michael Andretti's dropped back a little bit in 4th position. Under pressure now from Gilles de Ferran, Jimmy Vasser, Roberto Moreno. There's Alonso Jr., who's had a pretty good race as well. And the 2 Rahal cars at the back of that group. Brian Herter now in 11th position, right behind his teammate Bobby. But they've had fuel problems themselves. Just 2 laps to go now. Just 4 miles for the 2 Pac West cars to hold on to what would be an historic victory, a 1-2 result. But can they stretch the fuel mileage? As I told you earlier, they were working on this in the warm-up this morning, and they are going to find out very, very soon whether that work has paid off. Greg Moore hopes it doesn't. He was the one who stretched the fuel mileage in Milwaukee to take the win, and now it looks as though he may have to suffer the fate of following 2 other cars stretching the fuel mileage here in Detroit.
Yeah, it's a fuel game, isn't it? PPG Cup Series racing. It's so fascinating. I mean, okay, it's difficult to pass on this racetrack, but you've got to get yourself in a position to win the race, and that's what Pac West has done here this afternoon. It's a team sport. It's the ovals are all very well. The passing is much easier on the ovals, and that's all well and good, but strategy is a great big part of PPG Cup racing, and that's really what I think why it's so exciting. There is Gugelmin, there is De Ferran, I should say, trying to make a move on Michael Andretti, not able to pull that one off on the Swift this time around.
So here we go, the white flag will be coming out this time. It's the last lap for Maurizio Gugelmin and Mark Blundell, and Greg Moore has just 2 miles in which to try and get past these 2, but watch out for any stutter, watch out for them slowing down. If the fuel runs out on this last lap, you'll suddenly see the car slowing and Moore flashing past. It could still happen as Gugelmin leads them round. They're still lapping fairly slowly relative to what they can do. They've been looking after their fuel in this latter stint of the race so effectively. But have the sums worked out? Is that Mercedes-Benz engine going to run all the way to the checkered flag? Oh, Gugelmin's run out of fuel! Maurizio Gugelmin runs out of fuel on the last lap. Mark Blundell leads the race, but can his car go that little bit further? Greg Moore is in 2nd place and chasing. Blundell's car just has to go about 1 mile to make it to the checkered flag to take his first win here in Detroit. There are a few more corners to go, but Moore is now hounding him. Unbelievable stuff here in Detroit. Mark Blundell accelerates through the gears, builds up to 6th gear, up to about 180 miles an hour, down a couple of gears. He's got 1 more right-hander, and then the kick. He's slowed down. Mark Blundell has slowed down. He's run out of fuel. Greg Moore's gone past. It's gone wrong for the Pac West team. Greg Moore comes through to take the win. Michael Andretti is 2nd. De Ferran is in 3rd. Jimmy Vasser is 4th. Roberto Moreno is 5th. Bozell is 6th. Brian Herter is 7th. Anser is 8th, Rahal 9th, Fangio 10th, Papis 11th, and Blundell out of the points altogether. Jerry Forsyth celebrates, but what disappointment for Pac West. I cannot believe it. The last lap and both cars out of fuel. Greg Moore takes his 2nd win in 2 races, and there is Mark Blundell. He's not crossed the line. He throws the steering wheel off the car. Unbelievable disappointment for Mark Blundell, the British driver who was so close to the win, about 100 meters away from his first PPG race, and Blundell out. Go back to amazing scenes here, but what about this man, Mark Blundell? You have got to feel for him. Look how close he is to the finish line. That's how close he came to winning the race here in Detroit. Running out of fuel, they gambled, and they so nearly made the gamble pay off. But Maurizio Guterman and Mark Blundell both running out of fuel on the last lap. And there, the happy winner is Greg Moore. It's the 5th Canadian win in 5 races. Fantastic stuff for Greg Moore and the 4